Live from Sweet Swine County, where every day is sweet. It's Split Hoof tonight with Billy Gates and the Broken Window Band. I'm Earl Silo, and here is Sweet Swine County's own Cousin John.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome to our first initial showing of Split Hoof tonight. Thank you, thank you. We're brought to you live about 2 miles north of the roving metropolis of Split Hoof in our brand new studios. You know, it's kind of a shame that my bank had to foreclose on the Grange Hall just to get this. You know, I know a lot of you have been here, but it's pretty neat transformation into this state-of-the-art studios, wouldn't you think? Thank you, thank you. You know what now? And join me in welcoming our band. I mean, we got a group of all-stars here that come as far away as from High Horse and Cornrow, and even as far away as Shallow Falls. Please join me in welcoming Billy Gates and the Broken Windows Band. Thank you, thank you. And of course, we've got my good friend and sidekick, Earl Silo. How are we doing tonight, Earl?
Never better, Cousin John.
Perfect. You know, it's kind of funny. Earl invited me out to his parents' place the other day. Oh, Clarence and Opal. Clarence and Opal Silo, you know, they're kind of some of the biggest pig farmers around town here. Well, we were out there, and Opal and Clarence, they were just kind of leaning on one of the pig pens there. And Opal was musing a little bit. You know, it was going to be their golden wedding anniversary. She couldn't figure out what to do, so she says, Clarence, here's what we're going to do. We're going to roast us up a hog and have a big party. Clarence, he pulled the weed out of his mouth, and he's thinking a little bit, and he goes, you know, Opal, I don't see why the pig should have to suffer for something that happened 50 years ago. Well, let me tell you what, we got a great show ahead of us tonight, a great guest. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. We're going to learn a little bit about how some of the people from Sweet Swine County here are going out and finding some really nice places in southern Minnesota. So why don't we go out and take a look at a little bit of that, and we'll be right back.
I know we're lost in Minnesota, but let's just keep driving. Maybe we can see some more. I got these visitor guides, you know. Oh, there's a sign up there. I can tell you about this town. It's coming up right here then.
Okay, Inga. Inga, did you know Adrian is a small but progressive community located in the western portion of Nobles County in southwestern Minnesota? Over the years, Adrian has maintained a solid economic base due to his agricultural ties and over 80 businesses providing employment. With addition to the city's efforts, there are numerous clubs, organizations, churches, and school, which all play an important part in moving the community forward and enhancing quality of life in Adrian, you know.
Oh, Lars, look at the specialty shops. Now there's your shopper's paradise. That sure is a nice town. We're going to mark that on the map and come back then?
Yeah, Inga.
Hi, Professor Jay Von Tron here in my time machine. Been looking at different communities in the past and the present. Well, my time machine stopped. It says Minnesota, and it says today? Well, we haven't gone in the past. But let's take a look at this community. Only 65 minutes from the Twin Cities, Blooming Prairie's lifestyle is a long way from life in major urban areas. This small town of approximately 2,000 people boasts top-notch schools, community organizations, and wonderful parks. Each year, the town hosts their old-fashioned July 4th celebration, which brings about 38,000 people to town annually. As the friendly citizens of Blooming Prairie will tell you, their town is a wonderful place to live and raise a family. Well, let's look around a little more and see what different businesses they have. I'm glad I landed here with great businesses, great town, in our time.
Well, we're back. Let's have a hand for Billy Gates and the Broken Window Band. Hey, let me tell you what, Billy. We're really, really excited to have you here.
Very excited.
Oh, hey, hold back the excitement. I wouldn't want you to wet yourself, Billy. Earl, what are you wearing?
What? Oh, this. Oh. Well, as soon as we're done here, Cousin John, I am headed out to do a little deer hunting.
Well, couldn't you have changed after we got done with the show?
No, there's no time for that. A hunting spot's just like a movie seat. The good ones are gone early.
So you've been out picking your seat?
No. But I tell you what, I put together some of the things that I intend to do in a little segment that I'd like to show to y'all.
So you've prepared a segment?
I have prepared a segment, and I'll bet the folks would love to see that. See, and I'll bet the band would love to see it too, wouldn't they?
Yes, Cousin John.
What are you going to call this segment?
Well, I've decided to call it Earl Steps Out. And would you like to introduce that for me?
Oh, sure, why not? Ladies and gentlemen,
Earl Steps Out!
See, Cousin John, I've got a logo and everything.
Earl.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've written a few things down so I know just what I'm going to do, kind of an outline for, like the logo says, when Earl steps out. Anyway, Steve Kiergaard has over 3,000 guns in stock.
3,000?
It's more than just a gun shop, it's a shooting sports store. He also carries ammo, optics, reloading supplies, and accessories. He can show me anything I'm going to need to put a real nice trophy on the wall. And if you can't get to Kiergaard Sports in person up in Lake Benton, you can visit their really great website and see what they have.
Well, thanks, Earl. That's really good.
Now, wait a minute, Cousin John. Once I get my deer, I'm going to have a place to process that bad boy. And it's getting harder and harder to find a place that'll process wild game.
True.
So I decided I'm going to go to Egan's Market over in Adrian. Well, that's in Nobles County,
Uh-huh.
And for 30 years and over 3 generations, they've processed just about every kind of meat, bird, and wild game you can think of. And what I really like is they never, ever batch process. In other words, the meat I take in is the meat I get back. They take the extra time to double wrap all their meats, well, except for venison. That's deer.
Yeah.
And that they vacuum pack. I think Egan's Market over in Adrian is going to process all my wild game. So, Cousin John, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, hey, that sounds great, Earl, but where are you going to hunt?
What?
Where are you going to hunt?
The band. I'm sure somebody in the band knows a great place to hunt, don't they?
There we have it. Our first segment, folks.
Earl Steps Out!
Say, Earl, what do you say we join some of our citizens that have been out and around southern Minnesota and found some great little towns?
I like that idea.
Let's take that away.
Hey, give me a mic. Thank you. How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is your Our Story announcer, and what is to follow will show you some of the best places to go in Minnesota. To the best of our knowledge, nowhere in our country do they have a lifestyle equal to ours. Our towns and communities are what make us great. Worthington is built around Lake Okabena and is known throughout the Midwest for hosting the Worthington Windsurfing Regatta and Unvarnished Music Festival in June. They also celebrate their diversity every July with the International Festival and their traditions in September with the 70-year-old King Turkey Days. The town boasts 19 city parks, soccer fields, tennis courts, a hockey arena, bike paths, and a disc golf course located in the city-owned campground. History and historic places abound, including the 40-building Pioneer Village, the 1890 Dayton House, the Nobles County Historical Museum, and the 1931 restored Art Deco Memorial Auditorium Performing Arts Center. Worthington is also a regional economic hub and the Nobles County seat. A strong agricultural presence has encouraged several large corporations to locate here. Quality primary and secondary schools and a renowned healthcare facility round out this remarkable town. Worthington is ready to accept change and wants to make visitors and new residents feel at home. They believe you'll come to love us.
Oh, hello again. Colonel Von Breger here. I was just going over some of my adventures here in my journal. Have I ever told you about the time I was on safari in Africa? Perhaps not. Or the time I flew over uncharted waters in the Black Sea. There again, perhaps I haven't shared that with you. Well, these are some of my adventures. And I'm going to be doing other adventures now in the South, specifically southern Minnesota, visiting towns and communities. In fact, we're taking an adventure today. Why don't you join me as we go to Eota? Eota is located in southeast Minnesota, 10 miles east of Rochester. About 1,640 people reside in this small, friendly community. Settled in 1854 as a railroad town, the train still remains its symbol. This small village boasts 3 major city parks, a volunteer fire and ambulance service, excellent public schools, many clubs and organizations, and city-owned senior housing. Eota is a truly great place to raise a family or to retire. Bully for Eota. Bully. Well, let's discover some of the fine businesses and establishments as we continue our adventure.
Well, thank you. Now, those are some great towns, don't you think, Billy?
Yes, Cousin John.
You never cease to amaze me, Billy. What do you say we bring out our first guest?
That's a good idea, Cousin John. Who is our guest today?
Well, you know old Clarice there, she does that little segment, Hidden Away and Not Forgotten. Well, she was traveling around southern Minnesota, and the other day she come and basically kicked the door in on my office. She was just all beside herself, telling me about this guy that we had to have for our first guest. She was up in Renville County, a little town of Morton, and she told me about this guy, and once I heard his story, I decided that needed to be our first guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Max Prinzing. Thanks, Max. All right. Well, Max, hey, we're really glad you could join us here. They tell me that you've got a manufacturing company that's called PRINZING MOTOR CARS.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
What is it that you manufacture?
Well, we manufacture classic-style automobiles from the 1930s and 40s look with modern running gear.
Wow. Tell me, how did you get started in the business?
Well, I had a 70-acre farm in Winthrop, Minnesota, and just had crops. I didn't have animals. So I always wanted a classic car. I wanted a Duesenberg like my grandfather had.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, they're $1 million plus today. You
right.
know? So, well, one winter, out in the machine shed, I decided to make one. And I wanted a Rolls-Royce-style grill and the Duesenberg-type body and Packard-style hood vents. So it took about 6 months to sculpt it and 42 gallons of plaster of Paris.
Oh.
And then you make the die mold off from that. It was 5 pieces. We had to cut it in 5 pieces.
and bolt it back together and wax it with a beeswax and make the Kevlar body. I use Kevlar because it's stronger than steel and it won't rust.
Right.
And it's a catalyzed process. You pull it, pour it, and roll it in there cold, and when you pour it, you add the catalyst to it, and that heats it up over a period of 10 hours, and it cures, and next morning you unbolt the mold, and you've got the car body.
Wow. That's good.
Well, tell me, Max, who are some of the more famous people that you've made a Prinzing car for?
Well, we've made a car for singer Neil Diamond and John Denver. And, of course, Denver was from Mankato. He went to Mankato State.
Right.
And he married a girl there. I think her folks' name was Martel. They had the Holiday House in St. Peter.
That's right.
Yeah, Ann was her name. And, of course, I was a member of the Holiday House Club there. And he had said he wanted to look at one of my automobiles at buying one. So when he came, I had, to a little town where we were at, I had moved the factory location to another town, a larger location. And I had a little paper there taped on the door that we had moved, but it had blown away. And in that little town, the high school kids and junior high school kids can come home for lunch for a half hour because it's only about 6 blocks wide. So it was about noon, and he couldn't find us, so he went across the street to a house there, and 15-year-old girl answered the door, and of course he had a chauffeur-driven limo. He'd flown in his own jet. He was coming back for Thanksgiving to visit the folks. And anyway, he said, "You look just like John Denver." Yeah, he said, "That's who I am." So he went out to the limo and got a picture and autographed it for her, and she went back to school and showed it to all the kids, that she had met John Denver. And he bought a blue car with a rumble seat and extra fuel capacity.
So, where have some of your cars been shipped to?
Well, we've shipped cars to Switzerland, to Russia, to France, and all over the United States, Hawaii, and so on. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Which one of your cars is your favorite?
Well, I like the Spirit of Minnesota. I built that in 1978. That was the first 100% ethanol-powered car built in the United States. And, of course, I drove it 6,000 miles across the United States. And Senator Rudy Boschwitz, he drove it 6 blocks, and the Washington Post newspaper came out and took his picture. What I like about the ethanol, of course, is that it's homegrown in America, and it takes 280 million acres to take care of all the gasoline-powered vehicles in America to have them run on ethanol. We have 500 million acres that won't grow crops. It's too rocky and so on, but poplar trees will grow there, so you can make wood alcohol out of poplar trees in all 50 states. So we really have no need for imported oil. We could take care of ourselves. And I just wanted to prove it to people, to show them that it could be done. And today all of our vehicles run on 100% ethanol or gasoline or any combination of the two.
Anything in between, so not just the E85 or anything, just 99.1 or 100%, doesn't matter.
Yep. And we have sensors in the fuel tank that go to the computer because we have a modern drivetrain, even though the car looks, classic.
Sure.
And it'll just keep running. All you got to do is put the key in and go, And I think we're the only car company in the U.S. that has that standard. It's not an option. That's the only way you can buy it is with a multi-fuel engine.
So what type of cars are you building now?
Well, now we're building professional cars for the wedding and the funeral industry and special occasions, and, limousines and hearses and so on. And, we built the first art carved panel hearse since 1941. When the war broke out, they quit building cars. Yeah. And it's, I guess, the first one in 68 years. We delivered that to Arkansas. Mm-hmm. The art carved panel was carved out of wood, which I did, but then we made a casting and made the sides out of Kevlar, and that's, they make bullet-resistant vests out of Kevlar.
It'll be a little easier to maintain and last a little longer than the wood would.
Last a lifetime, yep.
So Max, if the folks want to learn more about your business and about your cars, do you have a website you could go to or something like that?
Holy crap, Earl. That's a good question.
Yeah, we do. It's www.prinzingmc.com. And take a look at it and see what you think, and click us an email, your comments, if you will. We appreciate that.
Well, that's great. Well, that looks like all the time we got today. Max, really like to thank you for stopping by and being with us today.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting both of you. And I especially enjoyed visiting with your field reporter, Clarice.
Yeah, Max, I really like her too. And don't you think maybe we should see another report from her?
Earl, that's another good idea. Let's join Clarice right now for a hidden away, not forgotten.
Hello, Sweet Swine County. This is your roving reporter, Clarice. Today, we're hidden away in Jackson County, in the town of Lakefield. I'm visiting Ern Malcho, builder of the Polar Palace Shack Rack. For over 20 years, Ern has built just about anything you can think of. However, today he custom manufactures hydraulic-operated ice houses that can be lowered directly onto the ice during ice fishing season. He also builds hydraulic frames for concession stands. He can build a bare 4-foot by 8-foot frame in about 3 weeks. About 75% of the units delivered are as frame, studs, and outside sheeting. But Ern can also build the entire package. He has developed a simple mechanism that allows cushions to go from storage to seating to bunk beds. These units can also be fairly extravagant. He builds up to 10-foot by 27-foot units, and they can have multiple slide-outs, just like the fanciest motorhome. I saw one finished with knotty pine interior, used by the whole family for camping in the summertime and ice fishing in the winter. It's a great way to keep the family happy while Dad enjoys that new fishing shack. From outside Sweet Swine County, this is Clarice. And as my Norwegian Nana would have said, hid away hardly means forgotten. Bye.
Guys, I love that.
Max, once again, I want to thank you for stopping in and spending some time with us, telling us all about your Prinzing motor cars. Once again, folks, I'd like to thank the studio audience for joining us. Don't forget Billy Gates and the Broken Window Band. And join us next time for another great edition of Split Hoof Tonight. Good night, everybody.